And we're back. That took a little bit longer than I thought it would. So it is now day two, around 6 o'clock, and the first couple of movies are done. I went to a few master classes. One of them was Christopher McQuarrie with a surprise guest from Tom Cruise, which was awesome. And then there was a Robert De Niro masterclass, which was a little less awesome because it was run by a French artist called JR, who just seemed to be more interested in talking about his art projects rather than, Robert De Niro's amazing career. De Niro did not seem to be too interested in the whole thing, so it was kind of a wash. There were a couple of audience questions that were really good, and you could tell that in those moments where they were asking about De Niro's approach to how to follow instincts and what is the first thing that he looks for in a script, that stuff got him all like he was awake suddenly. Like you could see him like sit up straight. He stopped stammering. His voice changed. Like it was really nice to see like the man that we know that was there. It was just a shame that the actual masterclass itself or the rendezvous thing was not that. But anyway, this vlog, I think it's going to be a vlog, is going to be about Can from another angle. Um, Without naming names and without casting shade, I mean, I would love to be in their position. It's from people who are more financially better off. I'm hoping that my experience, this is my first full week here, or for full 2 weeks here. Last year I was there for about 4 days. And now this year I got to go for a little bit longer because I got a grant from the Finnish Art Foundation. And I got a lot of help from viewers such as yourself and from readers. So thank you. This if there's a sponsor on this video, it's you. It's you and the Finnish Art Foundation. There will be written reviews and they're going to come on the website, and these videos are going to be more about the day-to-day operations and early reactions to some of the films that I see here. One of the things I do want to talk about, and this is something that I want people to present questions about this, because when I went to Cannes for the first time last year, I didn't know anything. There's stuff being written about it, but again, they come from a place of people who've been doing this for so long and who've already been here that they kind of take these things for granted. So if you have any questions about how Cannes operates, how you can get here yourself, what there is actually to watch, then like, subscribe, leave a comment, and I'll get to it in the next video. I have a couple of questions here already that I'm going to answer. The first question came through Blue Sky, and that was, I had mentioned earlier in a post that I have a low class badge. Then what does that mean? Well, the badges here, I'm going to hide a little bit of my details, but the badges here are color coded. So this is me. And I have a yellow badge. That basically means I am at the bottom of the barrel. I am lowest ranking possible as press can be. After this, there's blue, and then there's two different types of pink. There's pink with like a yellow or a little dot in it, and then a pink that's just a full pink. And then there's white. And white is like, that's the one you want to get. That allows you like access to everything. You are first in line for the press junkets, you are first in line for everything. But usually if you're in that position, you're already going to be kind of covered by the distributors, because distributors still do the thing that if you want to have an interview with something, you have to be nominated for it. So it's a whole case of how big of a name you are, and if you are already at a legacy media, if you are writing, for example, for like the Variety or Guardian, you most likely are going to be getting free access to almost everything. A lot of us and a lot of the people who I meet are either yellow or blue. This year I've encountered some people who've kind of sneered at the fact that I have a yellow color and have kind of gone like, well, we can't hang out with you, which is kind of silly because it doesn't seem to matter at all what your color is. I have not had a single time yet that I haven't gone into a screening that I wanted to, because there's just so many tickets around, and a lot of the people who do here really like who come for the movies, some of them get canceled, or some people don't go to the screenings. They mentioned this year that last year, despite the multiple different fail safes that they've put in, over 13% of people who had booked tickets still just were no shows. And that was actually the second question, is that if you don't have a ticket or if you don't have a press pass, can you buy tickets? And Cannes makes a big deal of itself by saying that all the tickets are free. And that's true in a way. Once Cannes begins, if you have a press pass, if you're accredited, or if you're one of the schools, or if you're with the directors fortnights or the cineasts programs, then you get to go into the booking system and you get to uh, try and compete for tickets. And that's where kind of the color coding a little bit comes into play. That white ticket holders, they get first picks, and then down and down and down. But again, yellow, I've had no issues. I won't be able to go into any of the big galas like this right now. As I'm recording this, they're doing the Mission Impossible gala with the cast and crew present, and that's Tom Cruise. Everybody wants to be there, and there was a line around the block already for last minute passes, and that's what a lot of people do. A lot of people travel here, and a lot of people from the city will just show up early in the morning in a full suit, and they'll wait for 12 hours, get a chance at scoring a free ticket to one of these galas or to any of those screenings. And they'll hold up passes that say, please pick me as a guest, because some of the higher passes will have a chance that you can have a guest with you. I admire that a whole lot. And if I lived here, or if I lived in a place that would, make sense to travel here for like a weekend, just off the off chance that I would get into a screening, I'd probably do that, because there is a communal spirit to it. It's really lovely because all the people who you talk to, they're here for the movies. So that's really the kind of first things that are coming to mind and what people have been asking. But there's a lot about Cannes that is just fascinating. And over the next 2 weeks that I'm here, as much as I have energy, and again, I am autistic. I am burnt out. I am clinically depressed, and I have really bad anxiety. This whole talking to a camera thing does not come naturally to me. I am kind of terrified about where it's going to go, and I don't really know what to do with it yet. Be gentle. But let's talk about some of the movies that I have seen. Yesterday was the opening gala, when I did get to go to that, and there was also the pre-gala, which was the kind of preamble for everything, and that was the centenary, the 100th anniversary of Charlie Chaplin's Gold Rush. Wild to me that it's been 100 years. I mean, of course, it was old when I was born, but it's a wonderful, wonderful film today. And I know that there's a lot of you'll have fans who like Buster Keaton versus Chaplin, and they have a whole thing of like, well, Chaplin's too talky, even for a silent filmmaker, because he has a lot of plot points and a lot of exposition in his films. But I like them both, and I like Chaplin when he gets going. He takes a lot of time to set up stuff, and there's a lot of things that if you look at his films now, there's stuff that is like set up in the very beginning of the movie and like 80 minutes later pays off with something. And that's kind of wild to think, because this was 100 years ago, so the whole idea of telling a long form story like that hadn't really set in the way that it is now. So without that, we wouldn't have Zucker Abrams Zucker films like Man in the Naked Weapon or the Police Squad stuff. We wouldn't have Airplane. All of that. Mel Brooks, everybody owes something to Chaplin, and you can really see it when you watch Gold Rush, because Gold Rush is a quintessentially silly comedy about prospectors, one of whom finds a mountain of gold, and then two others, one of them being the hapless tramp that Chaplin plays, who just show up in a cabin, and just everything starts to spiral from there. It's all around very, very silly. Um, but I did enjoy it, and it was really wonderful because in the beginning they had Chaplin's grandkids come to talk about the restoration project, and they asked how many in the audience had not seen the film yet. And I would say like about 60-70% of the audience from where I was sitting, they had not seen it. This means that it is the first time that they get to see this film, and they get to see it in the best possible quality on the biggest possible screen, surrounded by other film fanatics. That's really, I think that's one of the great things about Cannes, because you get to have these experiences that you might not get elsewhere. And it's not, I don't think it's a lesser experience to watch it at home on like a DVD or from streaming, but there's something magical about seeing it in the way that it was originally intended. Because again, 100 years ago, there was no home video, there was no streaming, there was nothing. It was just you went into theaters and this is what you had. But yeah, Gold Rush, warm recommendation. It's gonna be doing a somewhat of a tour in at least in Europe. So if you get a chance, and if you're in somewhere like London or in one of the European capitals or in the States somewhere, and they are doing a revival of this, go check it out. I think you would be really surprised how well this movie has aged. The opening gala film, and this is something that's, from what I understand, is divisive every year. Nobody seems to agree on like, do they like these or not? Like somebody described it to me after the screening that the opening gala film is always a triumph of mediocrity. This year, it was an equally ambitious film called Partir un jour, so leave one day, and my French is awful. I know I'm butchering that, but this was a jukebox musical drama where the whole notion is that it takes all the cliches of romantic comedies and kind of upends them, but also celebrates them by having characters sing famous pop songs from France from the 90s and early 2000s. None of the actors are meant to be like good singers, and none of the songs are particularly long. And after the screening, some of the people were saying that I watched it with were arguing that the movie was embarrassed to be a musical, which I couldn't disagree more with, because it seemed the whole point doesn't isn't to be a musical with big dance numbers or anything like that, but more like to insert these moments where that pop music speaks to us or speaks through us in a way that we can't express it. So if you've ever had a moment where you've just felt that like a song or like a little bit of a music does something for you that words can't do in that particular moment, then you understand that emotion that Leave One Day is trying to accomplish. I thought it was absolutely wonderful. It was really charming. It borders on twee, and every time it does, and every time I was worried that it was going to go into a direction that was deeply patriarchal or just kind of really dated, it just did a 90-degree turn into a completely different direction. It ends exactly when it should, and it might come as a surprise when it happens, but then the more I think about it, I think that this is exactly the right kind of a moment to show that like our lives are not a series where we have clear defined beginnings and ends, but rather of moments of crossroads that we can only understand looking back at them well down the line. It was really lovely. It's right now playing in France. It'll probably have another theatrical run during a festival season. Finnish audiences, those who are watching, I would not be surprised if this was at the Love and Anarchy Helsinki Film Festival later this year. Last year's opening film from Cannes had a release at the festival. So I'm calling it now. Partir un jour, Leave One Day is going to be maybe not the opening film, but it's definitely going to be one of the featured films at the Helsinki International Film Festival. And one more movie. Then I went to see this morning at 8 a.m. I saw Enzo, which is effectively one of the people who I saw it with said that it was "Call Me by Your Ukrainian Name," because it's so much like the movie "Call Me by Your Name," except it's about a French kid who falls in love with a Ukrainian construction worker who is about to return back to Ukraine to fight in the war that is still going on. An interesting and often heartfelt film, mostly because the performances are really, really good, but I found it to be a kind of a lesser version of the same story that we've seen before. I wish that they wouldn't be maybe this slow. Like this one is very deliberately paced, and there's a lot of moments where the characters will just kind of, it's a long meandering shot of them doing something monotonous or repetitive or just, to kind of set a tone. And I think that because you're trying to reach an audience, you're trying to have these conversations about how destructive it is to be stuck inside your body, even if you're living in opulence or even if you're trying to discover who you are and you can't be yourself and how harmful that is. And if you're trying to reach a larger audience with that, I don't think the right way to do it is by making a film that is deliberately off-putting in the way that it is told. I didn't think it was a bad film, but I have a lot more tolerance for maybe some of this stuff than a normal person. Like, I don't know if I could recommend this to a lot of my friends. It's one of those things that it's wonderful to talk about because of the rich subtext to it and the remarkable performance of the man who plays Vladislav, who is our lead character's love interest in this. It's a wonderfully complex performance, really beautifully nuanced and told. So a good film, but not a breathtaking kind of opener that I would have hoped for from the director's fortnight. All right, that was it for the first day, or part of the second day. I'm going now. It's now about 7 o'clock that I'm finishing this. I'm going to rest for a bit and then head out at 10 p.m. for the screening of Sergei Loznitsa's The Two Prosecutors, which is a drama film about Soviet Union and about people discovering the corruption within the system there. I hope that this will be good. It's got a little bit of a mixed response from early viewings, from what I've heard. But that's part of the fun of Cannes. Whatever you want to hear about Cannes, whatever you want to learn, if there's some film here that you're particularly interested in, let me know. Leave a comment, and I will try and get to it as much as I can in the coming videos. Again, I'll be here for 2 weeks until the 25th of May, and it's going to be a long one. Thanks for tuning in.